It is time for your Win podcast for super busy professionals sharing transformational moments. Your host, Chu Tang.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to your Win podcast. Today, I have my special guest, Jeff, with me. And actually, Jeff is also in California. Because some other guest speaker, they are like all over the world. Welcome, Jeff.
Thanks for having me, Chu.
So, Jeff, I have a question for you. Share a moment in your life where you felt a very important transformation, and then you changed your life forever from that point on.
Ooh, okay. There was a point in time when I was exploring meditation as a way to heal some things that I'd shut off my ability to cry, and I'm like, oh, this is not healthy or good. And I went to a meditation place with a friend who had been going here, and it was a sound bowl and Reiki experience or kind of guided meditation. And the facilitator went around and she was doing sound bowl healing and kind of just playing it as we meditated. And then she said that I'm going to go around the room and I'm going to do Reiki on people. I won't make any contact, but I'm just going to be doing the energy work and you can just meditate, continue to meditate and receive. And this is all brand new to me. I had no idea about meditation, energy work, healing, any of this stuff. It's all completely new to me. And I'm just coming in off the street like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I know that I feel like I should be here to try to facilitate my own healing. And she went around the room, and when she got to me, she's like, there's something here. Do you mind if I do make contact with you? And I'm like, this is my first time. I don't know what the hell I'm doing here anyway. So whatever you're going to do would be new to me anyway. Go ahead.
So were you on a table? When you were you laying on the table?
Sitting upright. It was in a room, it was maybe, I don't know, under 20 people, but probably maybe over a dozen. Everyone kind of had like a little mat to sit on, and we were all just meditating, sitting upright. Came around to me, and she did some energy work on my back, and then she said, hold on, there's something. She came around and she's like, can I make contact? I said, sure.
Okay.
And she's a little boop, she's a little forehead tap, and it was like she pressed this button, and my sinuses cleared, but it was like deeper in my head, and it was just this like moment of like, whoa. Felt a physical sensation from it, and I was like, what was that? I don't know what happened, but something just happened. And that became a very pivotal moment in my life where I think it was like a third eye opening, and it really connected me to more of the gifts and things that had been laying dormant or that I had been suppressing or running from. And I've always been empathetic where, I'll put myself in somebody else's shoes and try to understand what they're coming from and what they're going through or experiencing. But after this kind of this tap, there became a flood of that where I was then able to start to feel what people around me felt. And it's like almost overwhelming because I couldn't distinguish and I didn't understand it. So I couldn't distinguish what was mine and what was someone else's, where it's like, why do I feel this way all of a sudden? And over time, I started to realize like, oh, I'm picking up what other people around me are feeling. This isn't even mine anymore. And then aligned with that was also kind of the introduction. That was my first experience with Reiki, and still not really fully understanding or knowing what it was, but then being connected to the energy later in my journey to be like, yeah, this is something that has existed within me and that there's been intuitive kind of connections to it in my past. And so really that point in that moment of connecting with that Reiki master was really interesting to as part of my journey.
Do you remember what happened that day after the class?
After that class, I was just like, okay, that was a weird experience. And again, it was all brand new to me. But over the course of the next like 3 years, it just started to unravel, and I began to understand things and connecting to that higher level of empathy where it was like I would feel what people felt. And for most of my life, I've created the space for one of the ways that I coped with my own trauma was to look outward. So I made myself readily available for others to come to me for support. And so I've always attracted people that were looking for healing or that wanted to vent or express things. And something I learned was when somebody came to me after having like a heavy day or lots of emotions or grieving something, uh, they would leave the interaction feeling a lot lighter. And it was almost like I would take on half of their load. Like I would remove some of the heaviness they were feeling, and the burden was then shared between the two of us. And before I understood what was happening and how that worked, it was I would just carry that load. And so I was carrying a lot of weight and things that weren't mine for other people. Once I understood what was happening, then I've learned to distinguish what's mine and what's others and then let it go. So now I'm able to do that and support other people where it's like spending time with me and having a conversation. You could feel a lot better. And then when the conversation's done and they leave, I'll clear my own energy to release whatever I empathetically picked up so that they can continue to feel better. And then I don't carry the new burden or the weight.
So how do you clear it? How do you clear it? Do you go through a particular protocol?
Yeah, so there's several, I guess, ways or techniques, and it depends on kind of what I'm doing. But there is a quick one that I learned not too long ago where you take your right hand and you swipe down across your body, then your left hand swipe down across your body, right hand again, swipe down across your body. And this is kind of clearing the body, mind, and soul or spirit. And then same thing straight down the arm. So right, left, right. And then you grab any cords that may have been picked up and then you cut them and you release it. So that's one like quick kind of clearing I'll do in between sessions, or just if I'm like, oh, I picked something up from this interaction of that person real quick. And then also part of my shower routine is to set a grounding cord. So a energetic red cord coming from my root chakra or my tailbone, sending that to the earth to ground me in the moment into this reality and be present. And then I'll do a cleanse. So I envision the water is just washing off any energy that isn't mine or anything that's not serving me, and then letting that just flow down the drain and return to kind of the earth to be transmuted into something positive or be returned to the origin of it. But again, transmuted with, love and positivity. And then the last aspect of kind of the shower cleanse for me is to set an energetic protection. So I envision kind of two layers of like an energetic light force field thing around me to protect myself going back out into, the world and doing things. And then the third way that I cleanse is I'll do like empath clearing meditations. And so I'll sit and just kind of intentionally release anything that comes up and be like, okay, that's not mine, let it go. That's not mine, release it. And then there's also mudras. So mudras are what we do with our hands as we're meditating. And there's several. This one is called the detox. And so your fingers are kind of in this stair step configuration where the pinky is closest to you. And then gradually each finger is further away. And then you put your thumb at the base of where like a ring would sit for if you were married on both hands. And this is a detoxification mudra. So it's removing any energy that's not yours, both energetically as well as like physically detoxing any impurities within your body. And then another one is to interlock your fingers and bring the points upward, and then interlock your thumbs, and then this points down. And so this is kind of a more focused release of any energy and clearing that isn't yours. So those are three methods with some additional stuff within it that I use to clear my energy to return back to my baseline.
So is this what you teach in your meditation class too?
No, this is just what I do.
No, I'm thinking like it would be awesome if that's a course, because I think a lot of us pick up people's negativity and all that.
So on every Monday night at 7 p.m. Pacific time, I host a guided meditation where we start with grounding. We do I teach a mudra, so one of those specific mudras for that week, depending on the intention and focus or topic. And then I do a guided meditation. So when we come around to those mudras specifically, then I will be teaching that to be like, hey, here's a way to detox energy that isn't yours. But each week is different. There's a different focus depending on the mudra that I picked. So I do and I don't teach that specifically. Like I wouldn't go into depth about my own cleansing method because it would just be focused on that one mudra. But yeah,
Wow.
this is something, if, I'm working with another energy worker or somebody in that capacity in our one-on-one coaching, it's definitely something I would share with them.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Wow. So that transformation led you to what you're doing today, right? Like how you
Oh,
help them.
absolutely. Yeah. Because
Oh,
during that time, I was still working in web security. So I spent 8 years doing web security tech work,
wow, wow.
completely different life.
Wow, your experience sort of reminded me, the third eye sort of remind me the first time I took a human energy class, and there's a master. I think he's from Vietnam. He will come and like open up the seventh chakra. I didn't know anything about
Okay.
chakra.
Crown.
Yeah, yeah, and then but they don't open right away. It's not like yours is like open. They'll do it in a couple of sessions. Like okay, maybe get the first 40% and all that, and then this one too. Yeah, yeah.
For me, my experience of it was I came to know it as a Kundalini awakening.
Oh,
And Kundalini is kind of like coiled snake. And so the way that I come to understand it today is that there's been so much in my life that I've suppressed and pushed down that it
mm,
became like a jack in the box where all of these things have been pent up and layers of things just thrown on
right,
top of it to be like, I don't want to
right.
deal with that. To
Yeah.
the point that when she made that contact, there was so much pent up, it just erupted out. And so it
Oh,
was a very jarring experience. And like
right.
the year following that, it was very confusing for me. There were times when I thought I was going crazy because it was like these experiences and things were happening. I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
It sounds like a movie,
this is not normal. Like, and there would be times I'm in public. I remember going to downtown San Jose for Christmas in the park,
Yeah.
and I would get these chills and like my body would just shake. And I'm like, what is going on? And it later I realized like, oh, that's I'm picking up all of the emotions of all the people around. And because I'm in a public space and it's jam packed, like there's
Oh,
just so much energy coursing through me. My body
right.
couldn't handle it. It would just do these kind of shakes to like release some.
Oh, wow.
Um, and again, not knowing that, it's like, what's going on? Or why am
Yeah,
I feeling these specific emotions when it doesn't match with the environment I'm in or what I'm doing? And then I
right,
look around the room to be like, but it makes sense. Like I feel like how that guy looks, right?
right,
Like he
right,
looks like he's not having a good time or whatever it is. And it's like,
right.
but why do I feel that? And so having to understand these things over time and paying attention to be like, well, that doesn't make any sense,
Mm-hmm.
but that's my experience. And then
Mm-hmm.
talking to the right people that could guide me on it. We're like, yeah, you're going through like a spiritual experience and it's like an awakening.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow. I think you're the first person I met that actually experienced such an awakening,
yeah, it was interesting. And it
especially in
wasn't,
California, San Jose, California, in a big city.
yeah, it wasn't like immediate either. Like the way I think I describe it, like when she touched my forehead, I felt that
Yeah,
immediately. But then the things that unraveled after, it wasn't
yeah.
like I understood that right away. And it
Right,
was
right, right.
this very in order sequential experience. It was like I was given these puzzle pieces and I started to try to map it out and put it all
Mhm.
together. And over the years, it started to kind of paint a picture and make sense
Yeah.
to me. But
Mhm.
yeah,
Cool, cool. Thank you so much for sharing this. Yeah.
yeah,
And if you guys like this episode, come back. And until then, stay happy and hopeful. Thank you, Jeff.
you're welcome. Thanks, Shu.
So, what do you think of the podcast?
It was fun. Yeah, it was good to kind of chat with you and share that experience.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. So, I'm going to ask you something kind of random, just to the audience get to know you better in a
Okay.
different way. So, do you like to cook?
I do. I love to eat, but I will
Oh,
cook out of
so
necessity to eat.
so what's your favorite dish to make?
My favorite thing to make is Japanese curry. Um,
Japanese curry. Oh, okay.
so that's one of my favorite dishes to eat. And I also love the flexibility that exists within it. So, like in Japan, when I go and eat it, typically it's like just the sauce and then meat over a
Yeah.
plate of rice, and then maybe like tonkatsu or some other pieces. But
Right,
when I
right.
make it at home or when my mom used to make it growing up,
Yeah.
you get to put whatever vegetables and protein in there that you want.
Oh,
And so I like that dish because I get to make it based on what I'm feeling. Like,
oh, okay.
or depending on the season. It's like, okay, this vegetable is in season right now, so I'll throw that in.
Right, right,
Or
right.
today I don't feel like adding celery. And so there's this kind of level of control you have to play with
Oh,
the ingredients.
uh-huh,
And
uh-huh.
I think every batch of curry I've made has been unique and different because I don't follow the same set recipe or
Something
stuff I've been.
right. So, but do you use the Japanese curry powder though?
I used a brick. What's the name? There's a SNB.
Okay, but is it like a because there are different flavor of curry. There's like a Malaysian curry, Singaporean curry, Indian curry, Vietnamese curry, Cambodian curry.
SMB golden curry, and it's the Japanese kind of flavorings.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm a fan of all curries, but I'm biased towards this one because I can make it. I
Oh,
love Indian curry, but I don't know how to make it yet.
oh, okay, okay, okay. And
Um,
so, what do you usually put in it? If you were to cook it today, what would you put in it?
so I had some for lunch, so I can answer
Oh,
that.
okay.
Um, so there's some stuff I learned from my grandma actually. So my grandma taught me to use chuck roast meat, and when you after you cube the meat and cut it up,
Yeah.
let it marinate and sit in yogurt. And the yogurt
Oh,
helps to
just
kind of
yogurt.
like
Just
just
yogurt, no salt.
plain yogurt.
Oh.
The yogurt helps to break down the fibers in the meat so that it becomes more tender. And it
Ah.
adds a layer of creaminess to the roux or the
Oh,
base, the curry
okay.
base.
Wow,
And
interesting.
then I use a curry brick, the
Uh-huh.
Golden Curry S&B brand,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of season it. But then
Yeah,
I'll add salt when I'm
yeah,
cooking the meat, and I'll add onions to the meat,
yeah.
onions, garlic, and salt to the meat. Then I
Oh, to the
throw
meat before it's cooked.
yeah, as it's cooking,
Oh, it's cooked. Okay, okay.
and then I'm also simultaneously like boiling water in a pot with the
Mm-hmm.
cube, so that that breaks down. And then I prepare my vegetables. So
Yeah.
I've learned that the timing of when you add the vegetables will
Yeah.
make a difference of like they
Mm-hmm.
continuously cook once they're in the pot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what's cool about the curry is every day that you eat it, it tastes different because it's
Oh,
been
yeah.
sitting longer and then
Yeah. Yeah.
evaporate or release more or cook more or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's these layers of complexity to the flavor. Typically I'll add like this is just the full list of vegetables I'll
Mm-hmm.
use, and it
Mm-hmm.
changes on and off. But potatoes, carrots, onions, celery, mushrooms. I love mushrooms, so I'll do like
Mushroom.
milky
Oh, okay.
mushrooms. I'll do brown mushrooms. I'll do
Oh,
shiitake mushrooms.
oh,
I'll do king trumpet mushrooms.
right.
Just whatever mushrooms in the store I'm at. It's like
Uh,
this looks like it'll be good in there.
oh, okay.
I'll
Okay.
also do bell peppers sometimes,
Uh,
zucchini
okay.
typically, eggplant
Okay.
sometimes.
Okay.
Um, and those are the more common ones that I'll do. And every now and then I'll just be like, huh, I've never put this in before. Let's try it. And so I'll just
Oh,
put something random in. But yeah. Oh, and then two other tricks I learned from my grandma was to add chocolate. So you just whatever type of chocolate I have in the house, I'll just be like,
oh,
I'm
at,
gonna put
at
a little
the
bit of
end,
this.
you add
Just
it.
kind of when the broth or the base is
Oh my God, you're making me like my mouth watering.
um
Oh, okay.
but there's so many flavors in the curry brick that
Yeah.
like by adding these other things that don't typically sound like curry,
Yeah.
it actually just adds complexity to the depth of the
Oh,
flavor. And then the
oh.
last trick I learned from her was to grate like half an apple. You just grate half an apple into the base as well, and
Wow.
it
So
just adds layers of
yogurt
sweetness.
chocolate apple.
Yeah. When people hear
Interesting.
that, they're like, "What?" But when you eat it, it's like you forget that that stuff's in there because it just
Yeah.
blends with all the flavors and it adds
Oh.
something.
So have you ever tasted Japanese curry in the restaurant?
Mhm.
How is it compared to the one you cooked?
It's a lot different because I add a lot more vegetables and
Oh,
things, right? So in Japan, typically the curry is mostly sauce.
oh,
It's
okay, okay.
rice with sauce and a protein typically. Um,
Oh, but they didn't add chocolate. They didn't add chocolate and
some of them might. I don't know the full ingredients, but I think
oh,
that with the complex flavors that
yeah.
chocolate could be one of the primary ingredients. It may be cacao or cocoa or something
Oh,
instead of the
oh,
chocolate
okay,
itself,
okay.
but the chocolate serves the same purpose. And
Oh,
you don't taste it's not like, oh, this is very chocolatey
yeah, yeah,
curry.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just it's like literally like one Hershey bar or less into like I make a big pot, right? So the
Oh,
pot
okay, okay.
is
That, okay,
yeah.
yeah. So usually it's beef, right? You usually use beef.
Yes, and I've done chicken thigh. That was actually really good. I hadn't done that before. I did that earlier this year. And then sometimes I'll make tonkatsu if I have time and energy to do that, because that's you got to deep fry it. And
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool. Wow, we have a lot to talk about because I love cooking. I love food.
well, my business name is Food for Thought, and it derives from my love for food. So
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Cool. So yeah,
yeah,
so when I post this podcast, I will share your link to your business also, for our audience who want to get in touch with you. Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you so much. This is a fun podcast. Thank you.
I'm glad. Yeah, it's always fun talking to you too.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share. See you soon at Your Win Podcast.